Parker Schnabel, a teenager mining in Bolivia, embarks on a daring journey to find gold. He compares the process to playing the lottery, with the excitement of potentially making a fortune or leaving him with nothing but dirt. The team, consisting of Tyler, Diego, and Danny, is determined to find the perfect spot for the gold to settle. They make improvements to their sluice box, which they believe is the right one for the job. However, chaos ensues when the pump starts acting up, and Parker loses control of a loose pipe.
I can go down and start setting the pump up and all that shit. This is pretty straightforward.
Yep.
I would wrap the carpet over the top and nail it to the bottom of the front.
Tyler, Diego, and Danny scramble around trying to make the machine work while he supervises. Despite the chaos, they remain optimistic about their chances of success. At least a quarter of a gram is needed to justify continuing the operation. They manage to pull about 500 milligrams, or a third of a gram per yard of dirt, which puts them on par with his Yukon site. As night falls, they gather around a small fire, eating a hurried meal. There's a sense of camaraderie among the crew, as they all lean into Parker's dream of finding gold. The next morning, they return to the sluice box with its AstroTurf liner, and continue to work tirelessly. Parker points out flecks of gold as they settle in the sluice, giving him enough evidence to keep the operation moving forward. Danny's job is to clear out the rocks that clog the sluice, and despite the tedious tasks, everyone plays a role. Parker's teamwork is evident, even if he's the one doing most of the talking and dreaming. Parker has his eyes on a specific stretch of ground that he thinks could be the jackpot. He shares his reasoning, throwing out phrases about gold settling at natural low points, but it's all a bit of a gamble. The crew is willing to give it a shot, even if they're running mostly on faith. They move the operation down to this new spot, resetting the sluice box and repositioning the pump. A faint glint of relief breaks into the crowd, and they let out a collective sigh of relief. It's not a fortune, but it's something. And for now, that's enough. They keep running dirt, piling wheelbarrow after wheelbarrow into the sluice, and bit by bit, they start to accumulate a small collection of flakes. Parker's excitement grows, feeding off each tiny success, each glimmer in the sluice. The day wears on, and the sluice box fills with dirt and debris. The crew takes turns clearing it out, making sure the AstroTurf isn't getting clogged. It's dirty, back-breaking work.
We want to know what the mining potential is, so that's why it's really important we do some bulk testing. There's a lot of pressure on this sluice box, and there's a lot of pressure on today.
But there's an unspoken understanding that they're all part of something bigger. Their shared vision is what drives them. And even when it seems like they're just shoveling dirt into a homemade contraption, there's that glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, they'll strike it big. The sluice box starts to show its worth, and by late afternoon, they've managed to collect enough gold to fill a small vial. For their leader, it's proof of concept, and he can't help but smile, knowing that this is just the beginning of a long, uncertain journey. Parker Schnabel, a gold miner and TV personality, has turned his hobby into a multi-million-dollar empire. His origin story is like something straight out of a movie script. A young, ambitious teenager taking over his grandfather's gold mine in Alaska. He was not even old enough to legally drink. But there he was, elbow-deep in mud, running an operation that would make most adults run for the hills. With every setback and every piece of broken equipment, he just kept doubling down. Somehow it worked. It wasn't purely luck either. Although, let's face it, a lot of people would have failed miserably. He was sharp. He took every penny he earned and poured it right back into the next big claim or the next shiny piece of equipment. Somehow, it worked. Fast forward a few years, Parker isn't just messing around in Alaska anymore. He's setting his sights on the Yukon, and now we're talking about some serious money. The amount of planning, effort, and sheer cash it takes just to keep the machines running is enough to make anyone want to quit. Dominion Creek is a serious operation, with daily operating costs that'll make your head spin and deadlines that feel like a ticking time bomb. There's no room for error, and he has a 6-year clock ticking to turn this investment into something more than just an elaborate money pit. It appears that Parker is not content with only excavating in North America. He also requires the excitement of the journey. Enter Parker's Trail, a story in which our favorite risk-taker makes the decision to go all over the world in search of the next big sparkling find. While he has been traveling from Australia to Papua New Guinea, he has been dragging his crew through a variety of environments.
I know that we have a lot of things on the go. We have Australia Creek, we have Dominion now.
Ranging from swamps to desert heat, in an effort to determine whether or not there is a method to earn a profit and possibly improve his ratings at the same time. Recent events have piqued his interest in Brazil, specifically the allure of the Amazon region and its purported wealth. It goes without saying that the situation is not limited to gold. Rather, it is a complex web of bureaucratic hurdles, legal ambiguities, and environmental debates. However, he is completely committed. He is currently working in conditions that would cause the majority of people to flee for a shower and a comfortable bed. He is mixing with local miners while under these conditions. Parker, on the other hand, views it as nothing more than another obstacle. As long as there is gold at the end of it, the dangers are merely a part of the experience. When it comes to Parker, one thing to note is that he is not a one-man show. Although he is the public face of the company, it is his team that ensures everything runs smoothly. These two individuals, Mitch, the mechanic, and Tyson, the truck driver, are responsible for ensuring that the plans are actually implemented and become something more than just a wishful notion. Although some people may characterize his managerial style as fear-driven and others as brash, there is no doubting that there is respect for the individuals who continue to support him. Not only has the no-nonsense and occasionally fiery manner acquired a reputation, but it has also resulted in the formation of a group of individuals who are aware that they are making history, or, at the very least, mining some pretty substantial amounts of gold. The mining industry is a difficult and expensive business that involves the quest of gold. The ultimate objective of mining is to recover 80,000 ounces of gold from the earth. However, the process is not only about making rapid rewards, it also involves the excitement of the chase, taking risks, and going beyond what anyone else believed was technically possible.
Yeah, I think the only way we can kind of get over this hump is to get a plan going. We could sluice a bunch of tailing.
The primary focus has shifted away from the conventional gold mining industry and toward the expansion of the business. There are a number of components that make up the drive, including expanding operations, making investments in cutting-edge technology, and developing a sustainable future. There is a clear demonstration of dedication at Dominion Creek because the property is enormous, the stakes are great, and the challenges are unrelenting. There are obstacles in the form of licensing requirements, enormous initial expenses, logistical problems, and a persistent doubt regarding whether or not the gold is even present. To counter this, each and every obstacle is merely another hill to climb. It is crystal apparent what the vision is: 80,000 ounces of gold. This would solidify the status of the individual as one of the most successful miners of this generation if it were to be accomplished. When it comes to conducting an operation such as this, every minute counts, and the clock is beginning to tick. It's not only about digging, it's about getting the appropriate personnel, the right equipment, and aligning every aspect so that when the dirt starts moving, it doesn't stop until the goal is accomplished. Only then will the project be successful. It is the most significant risk that has been taken up to this point, and if it is successful, Dominion Creek will be nothing short of legendary. The idea is not limited to the present moment. Rather, it is about leaving something that is more than just a bank account that is stuffed with riches. To be recognized as someone who broke boundaries, who refused to take the easy way out, and who altered the way people thought about gold mining is the goal here. There has already been a demonstration of interest in a variety of endeavors, ranging from television series to the exploration of ancient mining trails and the expansion of the footprint around the globe. There is always something new that attracts interest, whether it be the exploration of technology breakthroughs in mining, the exploration of virgin terrain in South America, or the taking on of some of the environmental difficulties that the mining industry faces.
300 would be ideal, but, beggars can't be choosers.
People who work in mining have a life that is rough, grueling, and full of experiences that the majority of people never get the chance to have. Although the stakes are always high and the margin for error is extremely narrow, there are certain people who thrive under the strain that they are under. Those risks have the potential to yield enormous benefits if they are accompanied by the appropriate team, plan, and a little bit of luck. The challenge and the thought that something is being done that so few people have the courage to even attempt are what keep this effort continuing. The money is not the only thing that keeps it going. For everything to remain at the top of the game, it is the drive and the need for more that is responsible.
In Haines, Alaska, Parker Schnabel, a young gold miner, was born to his grandfather, John Schnabel. John Schnabel was the miner's grandfather. His experience taught him the importance of putting in a lot of effort and the results of each gold nugget that he extracted from the ground. By the time he was 16 years old, he had taken over the family firm and started making deals with prominent figures in the mining industry, such as Tony Beets. He also had the ability to get land leases and demonstrate his capabilities on national television. He had amassed more than $13 million worth of gold by the time he was 25 years old. On the other hand, the high expense of pursuing gold was accompanied by the costs that were associated with operating a mining operation. The equipment that his team had to transport was so expensive that it might be compared to the price of some people's homes. These machines required continual maintenance, operators with specialized skills, and a substantial amount of gasoline. Another mound of cash was labor of some kind. When he made the decision to invest in Dominion Creek, he put $15 million into that enterprise in the hopes of receiving a return that would propel his career to the next level. The celebrity that comes with being on reality television comes with a number of benefits, including admirers, public recognition, and a consistent revenue stream that is not necessarily dependent on the price of gold. On the other hand, it comes with a spotlight that has the potential to make every failure feel a little bit more painful. As a result of Parker's investigation, he discovered that when the cameras are on, people are waiting for errors, which are what keep reality television going. However, despite the fact that his crew toiled relentlessly and put in 75-hour weeks, the weight of leadership was firmly on his shoulders. It wasn't simply that they were employees. They were also the ones who knew him when he was at his worst and in the gutter. Not only did he owe them a wage, but he also believed that this business could continue to function. His personal life was falling apart in addition to the strain that was being placed on his finances. It was during the 7th season of Gold Rush that viewers had the opportunity to become acquainted with Ashley Ewell, an Australian veterinarian nurse. He had been in a relationship with her. The termination of their relationship in the year 2017 left him obviously upset, and the fact that he was emotionally vulnerable in that way does not make mining any different. In the moment that Parker disclosed that he had declared bankruptcy, he accepted defeat. So
Each surface was blanketed in dense snow that demanded additional exertion to clear. She then transports the frozen overburden to the waste pile in order to make room for additional labor. Following 4 days of operations proceeding as scheduled and equipment functioning flawlessly, the team avidly awaits the verdict of the novel Tony Beats claim, not anticipating any adverse consequences. Following the completion of 4 days of machine operation, the team becomes eagerly anticipating the outcome of the new Tony Beats claim, cognizant of the effort they have invested. As a consequence, the total weight of the gold realized was 137.8, which is approximately $240,000. The group expresses gratitude to Tony Beats and recognizes the possibility of a hectic season. They ponder the difficulties, the readiness of the apparatus, and the promising beginning to the season. Parker concluded by expressing gratitude to the entire team for returning for a second season, for their contributions to the success of the project, for the team's inspection of the used equipment, and for putting in so much effort to ensure the project's success. Gold Rush elevated the profile of the youthful and prosperous gold miner Parker Schnabel to prominence. He was born in Haines, Alaska, on July 22, 1994, into a family with a significant heritage in the gold mining industry. Parker became a member of Gold Rush during its second season at the tender age of 17. Despite his youth, he exhibited remarkable prowess in the field of gold extraction and a diligent work ethic. Parker achieved the distinction of becoming the youngest mining foreman in the history of the Klondike during his time on the program. Since assuming control of the Big Nugget mine from his patriarch, John Schnabel, his mining operations have grown. Parker has confronted a multitude of obstacles, encompassing apparatus failures, severe weather circumstances, and the demands of managing a prosperous mining enterprise. Despite earning millions of dollars annually, he does not retain the entire amount for personal use. He employs a team, and while their precise remuneration remains undisclosed, it is probable that they amass a considerable fortune when they unearth substantial quantities of gold over the course of a season. Parker abandoned his studies in favor of excavating, with the expectation of uncovering not only a hidden treasure but also an entire way of living. A substantial quantity of gold was discovered by Parker Schnabel and his team in the second season of Gold Rush. They obtained 34 ounces worth a total of $55,000. Parker was profoundly affected by this discovery, which motivated him to continue with the program and mining thereafter. Parker Schnabel estimated that the largest fragment of gold he had ever discovered weighed no more than a quarter ounce, and was valued at between $400 and $500. He elaborated that it is uncommon to discover gems of that size, and that the gold industry has undergone significant transformations since his grandfather began working in it in the 1980s. Parker Schnabel is determined to improve this time around. A depth of approximately 40 feet must be dug by him and his crew in order to discover the gold. But it is expensive. Thousands of dollars must be added to the $15 million that he has already invested in the property. Further, this serves as the initial stage. This season, Parker is confronted with a critical choice that has the potential to alter the course of his mining career. Parker Schnabel aims to surpass his previous record of discovering 5,300 ounces of gold with a value of $9 million. He is now setting an even more ambitious goal, obtaining 6,000 ounces from the Indian River. Confronting the difficulties of the Klondike, he is resolute and perseverant. A great deal of determination is anticipated from him throughout this thrilling voyage. Audiences have witnessed Parker's leadership, determination, and capacity to make difficult decisions under duress throughout the course of the series. His reputation stems from the fact that he challenges himself and his crew to accomplish lofty objectives. Parker Schnabel, notwithstanding the fluctuations, has emerged as one of the most accomplished and widely recognized individuals in the film Gold Rush. Gold Rush featured a diverse workforce of crew members who were integral to Parker Schnabel's mining operations. Every member made a contribution that aligned with the initial plan for the project's success. What are your reflections on this particular occurrence of Parker's conquest? Additionally, for more thrilling adventures, please subscribe to our channel and like this video. Continue to be tuned for more. A lot of people work hard behind the scenes to keep Parker Schnabel's Yukon mining business running, but fans want to know how much Parker's crew members get paid while they risk their lives and limbs churning pay dirt 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in the harsh Klondike. Which workers make almost $500,000 a year running Parker's risky business? Come along on this fun trip as we look closely at how much Schnabel's group makes. Gold Rush is a hit show on the Discovery Channel that keeps the attention on young mining mogul Parker Schnabel every week. Millions of people follow his brave journey to get gold from the harsh Klondike Desert. Fans watch Parker lead the way in each important mining milestone, but they don't notice the daily risks and sacrifices of his entire staff. Parker was very open on social media when he talked about what his hardworking team gets to take home after months of digging. His openness was a welcome gift for all the people who want to know how much these regular workers on his salary make. Parker says that the new workers on his Yukon mine crew put in 75 hours a week for weeks during the short summer mining season. In general, they make about 34 Canadian dollars an hour. Paying by the hour might sound like a pretty cool job, but Parker's claim, which is based on being physically and mentally drained to the limit, says it's about CAD 65,000 over 25 weeks, or about 6 months, because of the hard Yukon winter that stops digging. Taxes and living costs at camp are taken into account, and new crew members' take-home pay gets closer and closer to CAD 40,000. It was a very hard job. Parker also said that teams work 12-hour shifts that are very strictly scheduled and start working together at 7:00 a.m. until 7:00 at night, when the summer sun in Alaska lets it. As the short season grows older and the days get shorter, shift changes begin at 8:00 a.m. to 7:00 p.m. Parker gives his best workers some nice bonuses, even though the starting pay may not seem like much for the amount of work that is expected. The mine's huge fleet of rock trucks are some of Schnabel's most valuable assets, and the machine workers who are in charge of them can make more than $40,000 a year in Canadian dollars. These skilled miners drive huge Caterpillar trucks that can carry up to 50 tons of ore from the fields to the wash plant. Their never-ending runs are key to beating Parker's high 4,000-ounce, $6 million season gold goal. Even though it's hard on their bodies and takes a lot of time, workers who are put in charge of these important tasks could make 6 figures. Thanks to Parker's openness, fans now know more about how much Parker's crew makes. However, it's important to remember that the numbers he shared are medians and averages, not exact amounts. Pay for entry-level jobs changes depending on experience, bonuses are kept secret, and the amounts given could be in Canadian dollars instead of US dollars. As we've already talked about, Schnabel's new crew members work 75-hour weeks their first season. In just 5 days, that's more than twice as many hours as a normal 40-hour office job. And when mine is busy and there is a lot of daylight, those long shifts last from 7 a.m. until just before midnight. There are millions of dollars at stake every season, and sitting idle cuts into profits too much. And when your boss is a taskmaster like Parker Schnabel, you can't skip steps or take too long to do something. Speaking of the boss, let's see how much does Parker Schnabel make. Discussing Parker Schnabel's financial journey, it's intriguing to delve into his early years at Big Nugget, his grandfather's mining firm. From a young age, he displayed an uncanny aptitude for heavy machinery, operating equipment even before reaching pedal height. The question arises, did he commence earning a substantial income at such a tender age, and how putting the million-dollar dredge down? The dredge owned by Tony Beets sank for the second time in 6 weeks. He was told to go down and check on the dredge, even though it was his day off. What Tony saw when he got there could have been better. That machine held a lot of money, and it was just sitting there. It wasn't a happy moment. It looked like the team knew how bad things were, but they didn't know where to begin. The issue had to be fixed, but it was extra hard because the machine had to work by the time Tony got back. They were working on the pontoons to get rid of the water and get the dredge to float again. They thought something was broken. The pontoons quickly filled with water. Knowing how bad things were getting, one of the team members just turned around and signed, saying that Tony and Kevin would not be happy with this. When they tried to fix things quickly, there was too much water in the pontoons, so they just tried to lighten the load to get rid of the weight. They were sure that the boss would not be happy with them because the company loses about $1,000 an hour when the digger is not working. In the end, that's a lot of cash. They set up 6 pumps to drain the water to fix the problem with the pump that was sinking, but they knew they were losing. They didn't even believe the pumps could do the job. Mike really helped them out by getting a strong pump that could move 3,000 liters of water per minute. After fixing the pump, they left it to do its job. They remembered that $1,000 went by every hour. They had been pumping for water for 12 hours and spent $12,000 on it. They finally pumped the water out of the pontoons. They needed to figure out why the digger sank in the first place. When Roger Redball looked at the dredge and saw that the doors were open, it was a big surprise. The team had been working on their own problems and trying to get through the cut. They realized that this wasn't a natural or technical failure, but rather an error made by a person. Because the doors were open, sand and water could get into the pontoons and cause the dredge to sink. The whole thing was their fault. When Tony and Kevin got back from the sale, they did what they were supposed to do and asked what happened. The mine boss still wanted to know why the doors were left open, even after he knew what had happened. It turned out that the night shift team was to blame. They weren't looking at the digger. Now that the pontoons were fixed, Tony didn't want to point the finger at anyone. He just wanted to turn the dredge around and use it again. Again, the groundwater and water from the holding pond made the dredge float. They were getting ready for the next step. She and her team showed that they were ready, and they asked Mike right away how to move the dredge. Kevin told them to work quickly so Jason wouldn't be able to start digging in the new area. The dredge was going to be turned 90 degrees, which would make the tailings line swing over the road. Careful steps were needed for this. They looked and saw that the back end was pretty close to the shore. With a very important moment coming up, the team knew they had to make some tricky moves to get the dredge through a tough spot. They were hoping that they would be able to make the turn. Even though there might be some problems, they were happy and glad when the dredge was finally in the right place because everything went as planned. When the turn went well, the team took a look at what had happened and was happy with how things turned out. Now that the dredge was ready to start getting gold again, they were excited about the chance to get some prizes. The bucket's noise showed that things were going well, and everyone on the team was feeling good and hopeful about what they were doing. The night shift crew did something really stupid that almost damaged Tony's dredge. But what a new driver did to a truck was even worse. The whole truck was almost destroyed, almost making an engine burst. After 11 weeks of digging, Tony had brought in more than 1,000 ounces of gold. But he wasn't completely happy. There had to be more made. In 2 of his cuts, the 8-acre blue cut and the 9-acre cold cut, he was trying to catch Paradise Hill's sought-after white Chanel pay run. But the weather had been bad for him for the past 6 weeks. He was back in the cold cut, where there was still a lot of money to be made. To make up for the time he lost, Tony planned to sluice day and night for the first time this season to double his output. 3 new drivers were brought in to help the team because there was a lot of work to be done. The 3 guys were way too excited about the season. They thought it was great to be over there trying to work off the ladder and hoping to work in the yard and see some real good. It was better than seeing them with fancy jewelry on. They had to show Tony they had the right skills before they could work the night job. The boss had a lot of faith in them. He told them that if they were smart and wanted to learn, They could learn anything about welding or motors. They could find a way through life if they knew which way to go. The rookies were to be trained by Megan Gondet, who had worked for Parker before going back to work for Tony the previous year. Thomas was one of the newbies, and she told him not to do anything crazy, but to focus on being more productive. But Thomas had done a really stupid thing. It was back at the yard that lead mechanic Kevin Beat noticed something wasn't right. He was working on the trucks that were needed for the Paradise Hills Blitz. Where was the fourth truck? It turned out that Thomas was in charge. The trouble was that truck number 4 was broken, too hot, and couldn't be used. Kevin marked cars that needed repairs before they could be used with lockout tags. What a stupid thing Thomas did. He didn't care about the tag, and it wasn't even signed. Thomas made a big mistake for a first-timer. It was a big deal to take a truck with a lockout tag on it. Thomas was putting the engine at risk, and Tony now knew about it. Thomas had a good chance of getting sent off, but it didn't happen. He was told by his boss to get back in a truck. He gave the new driver another chance, but this time in a truck that was in good shape and had been signed out. The newbies were full again. More trucks were better. We saw Tony having trouble with water and his dredge, but he wasn't the only one who had trouble with water because of a mistake. Parker has his fair share of water issues. In his case, he almost lost all of his wolf cut pay, a mining site that is now underwater. Parker was looking for a pay streak in the 4-acre wolf cut on the far side of his Alaskan claim. He hoped that it would bring him at least 1,000 ounces this season. The group was trying to get to pay dirt 30 feet below, but they had to dig out 1,000 yards of extra material. 4 more feet would bring them to the water, and then it would be 30 feet to the rocks. But it looked like it was cooler than it really was. It would be very hard for them because they were working next to a pond. Frozen mud was the best option because it kept the water out. Recruit John Baudry was told to deal with the mud and keep the water out, but it looked like the cut was pretty wet. They called their boss to stop things before they got worse. It turned out that the mud got worse as they opened up more places. They still hadn't cut out even a fifth of the hole. There is an old pond next to the wolf cut. There was only a small berm between them. They dug down and found frozen ice that stopped the water from getting in. Now, it let water from the pond seep through the berm and fill the cut. Soon there will be a lot of water in the area. There was a need for action to save the day. They thought getting a pump would be the best thing for them to do. Parker's plan to stop the water was to dig a pond into the ground at the cut's deepest point and put in an 8-inch pump to clear it. After setting it up, they had to wait until the next day. You might be wondering what went wrong with the plan now. The plan as a whole was good and seemed to work, but how could you choose a pump to drain that much water without first making sure it works and fixing any problems it might have? The next day, everyone on the team went for a hike to check out their nice, dry wolf cut, but they were about to get a big shock. Where did their pump go? It looked like the pump was gone, and instead of a cutting that was completely dry, they found a lake. The pump system had broken down, filling the cut and putting the pump 4 feet below the water level. $500,000 were about to slip through their hands. The pump was so deep that they couldn't even walk up to it. Tyson had to pull a small kayak out with a chain in the excavator to get the pump to dry ground where they could work on it. The question was why they didn't work on it the day before and save time and money. Mark Fors, the foreman, said that the debris was blocking the suction filter at the end of the hose, which caused the water level to rise and cover the whole pump. He had to disassemble and repair the engine and come up with a plan to protect the pump from more flooding. This could have been done the day before, which would have saved them the whole night. His wolf almost got cut by this mistake, but Parker also did something shockingly stupid, and he almost had to say goodbye to Big Red. Parker's horrible mistake. Parker had finally realized a lifelong dream by digging his own Klondike claim. But with only a year left on the water lease, he only had one session to find all the gold on the huge 115-acre property. It only took him a little over 8 years to grow his Alaskan business from 2 people to 17 people and millions of dollars in sales. Dean, his foreman, quit, so he had to do some things as a foreman to get the company going. He was now in charge of everything as the manager. It made sense for him to do it because he knew more about the process than anyone else on his crew. The Chester Cut was being mined by his team. His mechanic, Mitch, was taking care of the big machinery, fixing the trucks, and getting them ready for work. Bree Harrison, who was operating the loader, was moving gold-rich pay dirt through Big Red and getting rid of the useless process rocks and dirt. Brennan Ruock put the dirt that Bree was going to use through the wash plant. There was no standing foreman to be seen during any of this. Everyone was working on their own jobs. He still hadn't shown up to tell the team what to do that day, They were already weeks behind schedule. Things would go a lot better if Parker showed up and stayed there the whole time. Parker showed up in the end and helped the team out a bit. The fact that Bree was running the whole business by herself made her look stressed. Because of this, Parker chose to get into the fuel truck